Welcome back to the Orange Power Podcast. We're delighted to have with us the associate head coach for Cowgirl basketball, Coach Jhasmin Player. Coach, good to have you with us here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about your team. Start at a good point, a good place. Your team, to me, seems like there's a lot of joy. There's a lot of happiness. And I don't know, you guys are in your third year. Maybe it's because it's so routine. We know what to expect 2 years in. Now we focus on the other things a little bit. But it seems like this year's team has a lot more joy happening right now, certainly than a year ago.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I think the beginning of it is the way we designed the team early. JC was really specific about what she wanted as players, and she was also very specific on what she was looking for with people. And so we had very clear picture of what she wanted us to go out and find. And we went out and we looked exactly for that. And once we got those kind of people in the program, now you're just coaching basketball. They happen to be really good basketball players too, but we do get to focus specifically on coaching basketball with some people we really enjoy being around.
You and I have talked in pregame about, it's cliche to say chemistry's good, right? I mean, coaches want to say that, they need to say that, it's important. But with this team, it's not cliche, it's real. And, I can tell you, and you obviously know this infinitely better than I do, but Lex Smith, great kid. Micah Gray, great kid. Yeah. Staley Hurd, great. Riley Langerman. You go down. Even Landry Williams. I know she's been injured, not there on the court, but she's there. This program is made up of a lot of really good kids.
That's exactly what it is. And sometimes you have to get lucky. Like sometimes in the recruiting process, we're putting our best foot forward. Excuse me. They're putting their best foot forward.
Sure.
But we did a good job this year where and it was Coach Hoyt. She would call. She called other coaches, she called AAU coaches, she called trainers, she called professors, whoever she could get in contact with for a player reference on that player, she called. Yeah. And then we made sure that we dotted every single I, we crossed every single T. The other thing is we took a deep dive into these players' families. We wanted to know where they came from, who they were related to. Like Lex Smith, we have a call with her mom, and she almost went to a lower level. And I was talking to her mom, and I'm like, I don't think we can let her do this. She can't undersell. She has to give herself a chance. And her mom was like, you're absolutely right. Y'all need to get on her right now. We're still in the recruiting process.
Right, yeah.
And so, Jason and I were like, that's the kind of mom, we like to deal with. And so she did a really good job of doing the behind-the-scenes work.
Coach, it's so easy, though, to say, all right, well, we want good kids that can play. Finding players that have that kind of personality and that kind of drive and do have the right support system, that's not an easy find in today's world.
They always say, when teams win a national championship, you have to get lucky. There are a few of these kids we had to get lucky on. We knew some of these kids came from good families and were good people. That's what we thought, but some of them are even better than what we thought in the process. And so that's what made this team really fun. Lex is just a really mature kid. And so we didn't know that. It's like when we got Staley, freshmen don't typically play. Staley was athletic and we knew it. We didn't know how high her basketball IQ was. And that was the separating factor. So there are always things you don't know. You just hope they're good things.
So let's lift the veil a little bit. This is interesting, all right? You as, so heavily involved in recruiting. Again, give me the criteria. I'll go try to find these kids. Do you lean and risk more, okay, we got a great kid who we think's pretty good at basketball and go that direction, but we know she's a good locker room kid? Or do you lean sometimes the other way when you go, this is a really good basketball player, personality, think she's coachable, think she'll be a good team chemistry kid? If you take a gamble one way or the other, which way do you gamble?
I think in the past, and we've only been here 3 years, so that one's kind of obvious. In the past, we've gone with best player. This year, it was very, very specific about going with fit. We need, and not to say someone in the past wasn't a good person. Some of it is fit. Are you a fit for Stillwater? Are you a fit for our coaching style? Are you a fit for our playing style? Are you a fit for the kids that have been here? Anna Gret's been here 3 years. Riley's been here multiple years. Landry has been here multiple years. That's the core, the foundation of who's been here. Are you a fit in the locker room with those people? Because those are the ones who have stayed. And then we kind of narrow the process down from there.
Interesting. It really is when you think about the makeup of the team. And let's be honest. I mean, Coach is a young coach, but she is an old school coach.
Yeah.
So her style is not going to fit every kid. So if you try to put that square peg in a round hole, as good as you are as a player, you're just not going to handle the coaching. You're not going to be able to handle it. So it is, and maybe that ultimately goes back to the first point. The joy, These kids knew what they were getting.
Yeah.
You sold them honestly up front. They've delivered. They were honest up front, and it just has worked.
It's worked. It's worked excellently. And I think a part of it, like, you have to also take a step back and, like, JC became a parent. And so the lens in which she looks at things, some things that used to stress us out in the past don't stress us out anymore. And so it's just like you get to look at it from a different lens whenever, like, you go home and there's a smiling. Like, you want to obsess over things that could be small, but you don't have time. There's a screaming baby in here somewhere. So I think all of it has brought joy. Like, it was just the perfect storm.
Well, she's not the only one that has a new baby girl, right? I mean, you obviously the same thing. That has, there's no doubt that has changed you now as a coach, right? I mean, you've got the exact same thing, right? Yeah. It's stressful. I want this. I need this. Kobe's needs the bottle. Everything else, you got to take a back seat.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's been. And then from a coaching standpoint, it's just like, I'm never going to coach a kid harder than I'd coach mine.
Yeah.
Now, that may not be good. I may have to reevaluate because I don't coach mine at all. It's just like whatever you want. But that's just kind of the approach we've taken. And so it's made us all take a step back and just recognize, like, these are young women we're trying to help mold and deal with, but we have to give them hard truths as well.
Absolutely.
And so JC still does a really good job of, like, making them understand that.
Good parenting is like good coaching. You tell them what they need to know, not what they want to know. All right, so again, kind of a different angle here, but you and I talked about this in the pregame the other day. For 30 years I've been on that bus, right? Mm-hmm. I know what the ride from the hotel to the game looks like. I know what it looks like from the hotel or from the game venue back to the airport. Win, lose. Is it joyous? Is it quiet? Is it tense? Is it focused? Is it game ready? And yes, and then there's two babies up front that are crying and babies that are gooing, and they don't care about any of that. And one of them was crying the other day up front, and you and I were talking, and I said, I know as a parent that stresses you out. You're like, what do I got to do? Do you need a toy? Do you need a bottle? Do you need what do you need? For everybody else, it's stressful for the parent. For everybody else, it's a stress reliever because it just makes you smile.
Yeah, it is. It's so light. And sometimes, like, even before the game, I have Kobe off the bus because all the kids are on the bus locked in. We're waiting on Jace. And so I'm just like, let me get her off because she's in, like, a talking phase. It's babble, 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 babble. We have no idea. And so she's off the bus, but now the managers are out there talking to her. And then I see JC and Daniel come and they're rushing with Harlow. And I can tell they're stressed too. And so we're both just, we're trying to survive it. But, we didn't get the result we wanted in Houston.
Yeah.
And then that game ends, and the first thing JC does when we get on the bus is she gets Harlow. And she's kissing on her, and she's loving on her, and I'm just like that's really what it's about. And our kids are here, and our kids love them, and it's just it's life. It's so much bigger than basketball.
It has changed again, bringing kiddos into a system. It changes everything. I'm talking littles into the system. So let's talk about this team a little bit. You mentioned the Houston game. So we beat Baylor, and we lose to Kansas. We beat West Virginia, legitimate big time win, and we lose to Houston. Two teams at the time that we lost to were struggling. And I think it would be easy to go, well, because I asked the question, how well is this team going to handle prosperity? And I still think that's a very fair question with this team. But I think it would be easy to go, man, we just lost to two bad teams. Kansas is a good team, going to win some games. And I got to be honest, I don't think you guys did. I know you had the scout. You didn't. But I probably underestimated Houston. Watching them play us, I'm like, how do they not have a win in this league? Yeah. Those teams are way better than people would anticipate if you just looked at their record at the time we played them.
It's the Big 12. And so we remind our players every single time we have a scout, every single player is in the Big 12 for a reason. I mean, all of them can play. And I think Coach Mulkey used to tell us this all the time. You have to learn how to lose, learn how to handle losing. You got to learn how to win. You got to learn how to handle winning. And then you got to learn how to be a winner. And so we've gone through all the phases of that. Like, we've learned how to win. And then I think now we are trying to put together how the target gets bigger when you've proven to be a winner. And we talk to them before the game. We say, hey, there are people fighting for their lives, fighting for ways to keep scholarships, fighting for ways to keep jobs, fighting for ways to go to their administration when it's over. This is bigger than us just going out and beating Houston. They're playing to turn their entire season around, and what better way than to beat a top 25 team on their home court?
Well, and they came in hot. They got a little bit of confidence. We did a few little things. I mean, there were a lot of little things. If you take any one of those little things away, it's a victory. I know, and listen, I tried to direct Coach in postgame to the positive. I mean, she wasn't holding Harlow yet. If she'd been holding Harlow, maybe I could have gotten her there. She really was. We started too late. It was on me not to have this team focused and ready. All of those things that you're supposed to say, and I certainly admire her for shouldering the game. But ultimately, when you look at that game, we just did too many little things.
Yeah.
But the way we came back, this is an odd statement, but I've made it several times already. It's the most entertaining loss I think I've ever called. We were within a whisker of having a chance to come from the largest deficit in the history of our program at 26, a good-looking three to get a chance to tie it. And in overtime, we're going to run away with that ball game, in my opinion. So it was entertaining. I was more proud for the grit than I was disappointed in the start.
And so I was too, because we've not had to see them in that situation. We've not had to see them have to fight and claw back. Like even the Baylor game, you're up going into halftime. West Virginia, you're up going. Like we haven't had that, and so to see them claw and bite was very, like, that was the one thing you could take from that game, and you could say, like, all right, so we know we checked the fight department. Let's not have to do this again. But you do appreciate how they respond late and how they fight.
I mean, it was as gritty of an effort and execution and planning and all the things to extend a game when it looked like you were easily out of it and may be embarrassed, to losing by 3 and having that incredible shot at the end. So let's talk about what's coming up. For those watching and listening, want to know what's next. Well, it is at UCF. And, Coach, that's a team that's struggling as well. But they're capable, just like Kansas. I mean, I think Kansas is actually a pretty good basketball team. And I think Houston could be. They're athletic enough. I don't know what that win does for them. But UCF is in the same mold. If you don't have the right mindset, they're going to beat you on their home floor.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think the mindset will be very different coming in. I think we kind of snuck one out at Cincinnati. We weren't exactly who we wanted to be there either. We just took care of West Virginia at home because we love being at home. And so we have to figure out how to be as dominant as we were in Waco. And I think our kids were really up for that game. It's Baylor, right? We have to have that same mentality when we play the Houstons, when we play the UCFs, those teams that maybe on paper you're supposed to beat, but they're Big 12 basketball teams. They're not just going to let you beat them. Those kids have pride. Those coaches have pride. They have basketball IQ. They're going to be determined. And again, we're a team that's the top of the Big 12 right now, and we can turn the entire season around for them. And so those are the things our kids just have to embrace. But I know for a fact that Coach Hoyt will have them prepared for it the best she can.
So that's the next one. Then the next home one, and you talked about loving to play at home. Blackout, TCU, top 10 team. You pointed to the left. There's the standings, the boards on the over there with all the standings. They're at the top. You guys are in the top third, and you can't get to, for the sake of our podcast, we can do this. You guys aren't thinking past UCF, and I totally understand that. But for the fans, that's a huge one. We've had great crowds. We need more of them. We need them and some more. That's going to be a huge game to be a factor at who's going to finish in the top of this league.
That's the one thing that, like, as a staff and as a team, like, we're so nearsighted. Like, we've broken things down to, like, one game at a time, and then we said, okay, let's think about these, these 2 games in Florida, or let's just think about these 3 games here and there. And so we've kind of broken it down, and you don't look at big picture. I think every single coach on our staff, when we go home, we think about big picture and, like, how can we claw and fight and scratch to end up at the top, and what do we actually have a chance to do here? But we've also been trained to just take it one step at a time, because if you don't, you slip up and you lose to a Houston team. You slip up and you're in a fight with a Cincinnati team. You slip up and you're in a fight with a Central Florida team. So you just have to treat every single game like it's West Virginia.
So the Cowgirls on the road at UCF, 3 o'clock on Saturday. That following Wednesday, 6:30, taking on TCU. Blackout. Get your tickets. Come support this team. What have I missed? Anything you need to tell us about? Anybody, a kid that's done anything that we need to know about, good-wise? And, Jaden continues to be that little freshman, that little, my broadcast partner used to call kids like that a gnat at a barbecue. You just can't get rid of them. They're always in your pocket. They're always in your hip pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great stories on this team. And, again, I think that's ultimately goes back to the first point. that's why there's so much joy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you have Jaden, and Jaden is going to spark. Like her little, like when she walks in a room, she shifts the energy in a room. And then the one that we don't really talk about a lot, that is the same sort of deal as Praise.
Yeah.
Praise has been giving us great minutes off the bench right now. Like I think she led us in rebounding off the bench in limited minutes at Houston. Because Praise is so selfless, she understands what her role is. Like we had a conversation with them leading up to Houston, and it was just like, what are you guys thinking in preparation for these things? And Praise was like, I just want to get out there and fight for the team and do my job and be in my role the best I can. And she understands that that's defense and rebounding. If I get an offensive rebound, I may put it back, but I'm here to bring energy, hype, defense and rebounding, and like most kids won't embrace that, and she just does. And so Praise is really fun.
Yeah, and that smile.
Yeah.
Always has that smile. You know, that's the great thing about those three that come in oftentimes together for that first substitution with Macy Heward, her, Praise, and Jaden. They are a spark off the bench, which is phenomenal. It's good stuff. Coach always appreciates our visits. They're always fun. Appreciate the time today. Good luck this week, and let's do it again soon.
Do it again. Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's going to wrap things up for Coach Jazz. I'm Casey Kendrick. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Orange Power Podcast.